Welcome to Age, Pension, Super and Retirement. I am your host Yvonne, and as always, this is information only and not personal advice. Today we will be looking at a couple of Facebook group questions, and to answer these I'd like to welcome back Rebecca.
Thanks, Yvonne. These questions, should be interesting.
Absolutely. Our first question, Mark asks, I'm 69, on the age pension and work casually. I've recently separated and sold the family home. I get half the proceeds, which is $300,000. Centrelink told me I have 2 years to buy or build, or else I get taxed. What does this mean? And what if I can't find anything to buy for $300,000? And finally, what if I end up renting forever?
Okay, Centrelink's told Mark about the 2-year rule when you sell your primary home and intend to buy another home someday. He's got $300,000 of proceeds from the home, and he's told Centrelink, I'm going to use that money to buy my next home. So this is one of the things Centrelink does, or the government does, to remove barriers for people who are moving house when they are on pension. So ordinarily, when you've got $300,000 in the bank from somewhere, that's counted as an asset and would then affect the amount of pension that you get. Mark is now single with $300,000 in the bank. His pension would be reduced due to the deemed income rules. He's also working casually, so his work income less the work bonus plus the deemed income from the $300,000 in the bank would usually, it would reduce his age pension and he wouldn't get as much. And then that can be a barrier to people moving house. They might think, well, I don't want my pension to reduce, so I'm just going to stay where I am in my house. Now, Mark's situation, he's separated from his spouse, so that's sort of forced the sale of the family home. So maybe he didn't really want to sell, but he has. So anyway, here he is. He's got $300,000 in the bank to buy his next home. And Centrelink gives you 2 years, 24 months to take time to find the next right home for you. And that might mean buying an existing property. It might mean building a house somewhere and, making staged payments to the builders, or it could be moving into a nursing home or making a granny flat interest at your son's house or whatever. So there's lots of different forms that build your next home could take. But Centrelink gives you 24 months to do that before they count the proceeds as part of your assets. They do count the proceeds under the income test, under the deemed income test, but they deem the full amount at the lower rate. So for deemed income, there's 2 deeming rates. The lower rate is for the first bit of money that you have, and that deemed to be earning 0.75% per annum. So it's quite a low rate, and that's less than what you're going to be getting just sitting in a typical savings account at a bank. So you're already kind of winning because you're going to be making more interest than that 0.75%. For these home proceeds, they deem the full amount, so the whole $300,000 at 0.75% per annum. Ordinarily, most of that money would be deemed at the higher deeming rate, which is 2.75% per annum. So it's pretty generous sort of discount on the deeming rate that Centrelink offers you in this transition time. Because they know that people, if you're planning to buy another home, you're not going to be taking much risk with that money. You're not going to be investing it in the share market because you need to use it soon. So at the 2-year mark, if Mark has not built another home or bought another home, at that 2-year mark, Centrelink will sort of inquire, what's going on? Are you trying to build? Are you trying to buy? Has there been any, something that's happened that's delayed the process? And if there's a genuine reason that you've been trying and you can't get into your new home, and it might be that there's been delays with the builder because of some extenuating circumstance, Centrelink can extend that from 24 months to 36 months. But it's really an extenuating circumstances thing. And if you just I just haven't found the right property yet, that's not a good enough reason to extend it. At the 2-year point, that $300,000 would count as an asset and would reduce Mark's age pension. So it's not tax. Tax is to do with the ATO, and this is not a tax thing. A couple of other things to consider for Mark. So one is that the real interest that he earns on that money counts as taxable income for ATO purposes. So tax might actually be an issue because he's going to be earning, a reasonable amount of interest on this $300,000. That's going to be added to his work income and his age pension amount at tax time on his tax return, and he may have to pay some tax. So that's something he needs to consider. The other thing is that if the $300,000 earns interest and he doesn't spend it, any amount in assets over and above the sale proceeds does count as an asset. If that $300,000 grows to 320, maybe after, at the 2-year mark, maybe it's going to 340,000, the extra amount, the extra 20 or 40,000 does count as a normal asset. Yeah, that is going to be counted in his Centrelink assessment. The sale proceeds itself that you have earmarked for your next home, that is not counted as an asset, but any extra that it grows does count as an asset. You're supposed to update Centrelink when the balance goes up by $2,000 or more. So that's something to keep in mind as well. What if he can't find anything to buy for $300,000? Well, at the 2-year point, he just tells Centrelink, yeah, I was looking for something, I didn't find a property, now I'm a non-homeowner. And Centrelink will change the assessment of his assets from homeowner to non-homeowner, which means he has a higher asset threshold. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but the $300,000 will be counted as part of his assets. And because of the way the deeming rates work, he will definitely have a reduction in his pension at the 2-year mark. What if he ends up renting forever? Now, that's okay. Some people do rent forever. And if he decides that, the $300,000 is not enough to buy a home, can't find one, he can rent for the rest of his life. He can get rent assistance from Centrelink, and he can get that even from now when he's renting while looking for a new home. To get rent assistance, you need to update your accommodation details on your Centrelink profile, and you need to upload your lease, and they'll often ask for a rent certificate as well, which is a Centrelink form that sort of just details how much rent you pay, who you're paying it to, just so Centrelink can confirm that, yes, you really are paying this amount, and then they can pay you rent assistance. There's different rates of rent assistance depending on whether you're single or partnered, whether you live by yourself or live with other people. But that's a bit of extra money you can get to help pay your rent. But if he ends up renting forever, that Centrelink will pay him rent assistance.
That's so interesting, Rebecca. I hadn't heard about the genuine delay extension to 36 months. That's a really good thing to know about.
Yes, it is. When there really are real reasons why you haven't, moved into your new build or whatever, that can be extended.
And I hadn't thought about the extra on top of the sale proceeds. So that's just something to be mindful of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, some people, this is a fairly small amount, 300,000, but some people might sell their home and have $2 million sitting in the bank, and that's going to grow, that if after 6 or 12 months, that could get a fair amount of extra growth on top of that. So that growth could definitely affect your pension while you're waiting to buy your next home.
Oh, super interesting. Thanks, Rebecca. Now for our second and final question today, Rob asks, I'm nearly 67 and plan to stop work on my birthday. I have $200,000 in superannuation. What amount of savings or final wage packet would affect my age pension payment?
This is an interesting question because there's a couple of things in there that suggest that Rob has probably been looking at the Centrelink website and probably looking at information for other payments, maybe without realising that's what he's looking at. Because Centrelink, there's lots of different payments at Centrelink, and they each have their own set of rules. For some payments, your final wage packet does affect the amount of pension or payment you're going to get from Centrelink, and so does savings in the bank. So for a payment like JobSeeker, Centrelink assess your liquid assets, so cash on hand, money in the bank, shares, super that you're accessing, any money that you can sort of get your hands on fairly quickly. They look at that amount, and if you've got a decent amount of ready cash, ready money, then they will delay the start of your JobSeeker payment because they sort of go, well, if you're unemployed, you're meant to sustain yourself first before going to the government and asking for a handout. For some payments, the amount that you have in savings as ready money is really important, and it will delay the start of your payment from Centrelink. But age pension does not have this rule. For age pension, they're looking at your total assets, including your super, including your money in the bank, including any investment properties and things. They look at the total amount of assets you have, but they're not interested in how much of that is ready money. They just look at the total. There is no amount in savings that is going to affect his age pension payment separate to his total assets in general. That's kind of a non-issue for Rob. And his other part of his question, what about my final wage packet? And again, for almost all of the other Centrelink payments, if you retire, resign from your job, and the next day go to Centrelink, they're going to say, well, did you get a payout? How much of a payout did you get? How many weeks worth of income does that represent? And for somebody who is going to go on to job seeker payment or disability pension, if they've just received a payout that includes 20 weeks worth of leave, Centrelink will say, well, that's 20 weeks worth of money that you can live on for 20 weeks. And your payments from Centrelink would start at the end of that period. Again, that's not an issue for age pension. For age pension, the rules are different, and they go, well, it's okay that you're retiring, and any final payout, whether that's a redundancy payment or annual leave, long service leave, whatever it is, any money that's paid out as your termination payment is not counted as income. It just counts as part of your asset. So Rob has $200,000 in super. Let's say he gets a final payout of $40,000. Centrelink will go, okay, you've got $200,000 in super, you've got $40,000 you've just received from work in the bank. That's $240,000 total. We will look at your age pension based on that amount. So it doesn't count as income, it just counts as part of your assets. It makes it a lot simpler for Rob to work out how much he's going to get for his age pension. Now, there's not enough information in that little snippet to actually work out how much age pension Rob's going to get. He hasn't put in there whether he's single or partnered. He hasn't said, how much his car is worth, whether he has a caravan, an investment property, blah, 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 blah. There are lots of other things that Centrelink will assess as part of his age pension income and assets assessment. But the crux of his question, which is, will my savings in the bank or my final wage packet affect my age pension? No, they will not. It's just looking at his whole financial situation as to whether he'll get age pension and how much he'll get.
That's great information, Rebecca. Now, a little bit of a question on here without notice. What about the work bonus part of this question in terms of, is there a certain final payment that someone can earn before that sort of all kicks in?
So if Rob finishes work on his birthday and receives his final pay in the days after his birthday, any amount he receives for work done in that last fortnight of his pay cycle at work. So let's say he worked, it was a short fortnight, 50 hours in that fortnight. The amount he gets paid for those 50 hours does count as income. Any amount above the hours he worked in that fortnight is not counted as income. That's his leave payout, etc. And the work bonus, we've had other episodes about this. The work bonus helps people to earn some money from working without it affecting their age pension. And it has a starting balance of $4,000. So if Rob earns up to $4,000 from working hours in the fortnight of his last fortnight at work, up to $4,000 is not counted as income because of the work bonus starting balance. He's probably going to be under that, and it's probably going to be fine. I expect his final week or fortnight of working will probably be less than $4,000, so it won't affect his age pension. But if it was more than $4,000, then yes, it might reduce his first age pension payment.
Thanks, Rebecca. Such a great answer, and there I was putting you on the spot. Now, as always, this has been information only and not personal advice. For our international listeners wishing to join our Facebook group, the code word is YELLOW. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
You're welcome, Yvonne.